What's up, guys? It's been a hot minute, and this is Lofi Nole, and welcome to the video. We're gonna be talking about something that's really dear to me, and as you know, if you have been on my channel for a little bit, you know for a fact that I'm playing through Borderlands 1 at the moment, and I'm trying to play through all of them really and stuff, but at the moment I'm going through 1. We finally got done with normal mode, so that's fantastic. I'm gonna have both of them up, and this video is gonna follow once I post the one that I have gotten past normal mode with the main story. So, that being said, what is this video? What happened to the Borderlands series? So, in my opinion, from playing all the Borderlands, even the Telltales except the newest one, I feel as though like the Borderlands series is kind of like it's really a hit or miss with Telltale's Wonderlands not being the greatest, and with Borderlands 3 could have been the greatest, and Borderlands 2 is really the all-time favorite that everyone and their mother knows, and Borderlands 1 coming in the close second, and everyone just hating on pre-sequel. It's kind of hard. Like I want this game to flourish. I really think this game could be one of the best loot and shooter games out there on the market, but I feel as though at the same time, it's like the devs or in general, like the or content creators, I guess, don't speak up a lot too much about it, and this is why I'm watching itztermx, because his content is mostly talking about a lot of problems that the Borderlands series has, and he's really good at sharing his opinions about it and sharing about what's wrong with it. Even though this video is 3 months old, still, I wanted to wait and watch this and show you guys my opinions on it. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into it.
Hello guys, itztermx here, and I'm back with another Borderlands video. Today's video I do want to talk about the Borderlands series as a whole and where exactly it went wrong, because I've kind of made a lot of videos criticizing Borderlands, talking about things within the community, and in general just important things in my mind that I'd like to share and discuss. But there is a train of Wonderlands on its decline. I don't see many Borderlands creators even talking about it anymore, and it's actually been kind of sad seeing how dead the Borderlands community feels right now, at least from a online standpoint. And with a new entry into the Borderlands universe, it almost feels like Borderlands as a whole, their writers are still in 2013 and we as the players have grown up, and it seems like everything's childish but in a bad way. Now I will say, before I get any further about talking about new tales from the Borderlands, I'm going to be spoiling basically a lot of things about the game, so if you never played it, go play it, or if you don't really care and you just want to hear what happens, keep watching. But in new
I will say this: I have not watched any of the new Tales gameplay yet, and I haven't played it either. The only thing I do know that I have read a little bit on Reddit and stuff, so maybe he'll shed some light on like the different things that people posted on Reddit. But other than that, like I don't know, man. Is the Telltale games are kind of a hit or miss for me. I did like the first one they did. They brought in new characters and everything, but I didn't see them really come into play with the other Borderlands games, like the regular ones, like the regular loot and shooter. So I don't know, but yeah.
Tales from the Borderlands, we have all these new people, and Octavio being the main character. You've probably seen him in the trailers with the yellow jacket. He's very loud and annoying, kind of like the human implementation of Claptrap. He kind of ruined the game for me as a quote-unquote main character. I actually envied his sister more than him, and he's the main character. I know technically it's 3 main characters, but he's the main focus of the entire game. But his sister had way better writing, way better personality, and she was almost like more mature players in the Borderlands series that thought everything was cringe and stupid, which it was. I think everything from the Borderlands series has started with Borderlands 3. Borderlands a pre-sequel, I'm not even going to say it started there, because Borderlands a pre-sequel may have lacked endgame content and may have lacked a lot of key features that we liked, but they did promote it as a spin-off, and maybe naming it Borderlands or pre-sequel, just having the Borderlands name and not delivering on what the Borderlands name usually delivers on, left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. But the pre-sequel evolved on so many things.
It did, bro. If you cared about the story part of pre-sequel, you will have understood a lot about how Handsome Jack was able to do so much in between 1 and 2. So that's why I say, in my opinion, pre-sequel was one of the best from like a story aspect. But like when we talk about the gameplay wise, stuff like that, I get it. Everyone didn't really like pre-sequel, especially because he was in space, blah blah blah. But like, bro, the game was good. Okay, it could have did better at 100%, but it was good, I would say.
It made things so much better. And on top of that, the story writing never lacked in that game.
Yep.
Comparatively with Borderlands 1 and 2, Borderlands 1 story was a little iffy, but
Yeah.
Borderlands 2 in the pre-sequel and the first Tales game, the story was just amazing. I loved it. I loved how everything connected. I
Yep.
loved the different stories and the characters and how well written they were. Even
Yep.
the pre-sequel had some notable side characters that were just hilarious.
Yep.
And I think when we shift into Borderlands 3, where we have COVID going on, not going to say that's why the Borderlands franchise is where it is now, because I think that is a poor excuse at this point, but it did affect Borderlands 3 in the long run. I do think having the lack of characters and how much the community loves and connects with these characters really killed Borderlands 3 for a lot of people. How the whole storyline shifted from a very mature, with a little bit of funny mixed in with Handsome Jack taking over Pandora, the pre-sequel learning about the arc of Handsome Jack, Tales kind of showing how other people impacted Borderlands as a whole. We go into Borderlands 3, where we have a influencer that doesn't really feel like she's doing anything evil up until like the last hour of the game. Yep. And then you have little generic cutoffs in the writing where Maya dies because plot. And, you know, I get it. You want...
Was not needed. Maya dying in Borderlands 3 was the dumbest thing they could have ever written. What was the point? It was no needed. But hey, I guess you wanted to give a little kid new siren powers and a book. Here we are.
Characters to die to build a more emotional connection, but make them impactful. Make them like Scooter, where it actually means something when Scooter died. There's a reason he died, and you can see that as the player. Or you look at Roland and how he died because he was careless, but it's also Lilith's fault because she went into the chambers of Angel when she wasn't supposed to. So everything happens for a reason and for a greater purpose. But with Maya, we had zero of that. We had Maya get absorbed into dust and left a book behind that the Ava murder mystery missions kind of built upon a little bit, but really not for a bigger purpose just yet, other than the fact that Ava does have her siren powers and we don't know the significance in the future. Maybe the next Borderlands game will connect the dots and I'll eat my words on this statement, but it did leave me as the player very empty when it came to like why did Maya die in the first place, because it didn't feel like a valid reason. It just felt like Maya died because we need emotion, and I did not like that about her death whatsoever, especially such a loved character dying in that fashion and then scrapping that deleted Ava cutscene was a slap in the face, especially not leaking, I guess they did release it as part of a DLC. All the cut content just made it worse. It made it infinitely worse knowing that's what we could have gotten, and Maya's death would have had a slightly higher purpose. Now I'm going to address New Tales and what...
If you haven't experienced that, the cut content, it showed a alternate, kind of alternate reality of like what could have happened. But instead, they wanted to go with the Maya dying, so then, yeah, Ava can, I guess, become a siren. So it was pretty stupid, I would say.
Borderlands as one when I talk about my next few talking points, because I do want to refer back to the story. With Wonderlands, the story was actually pretty cool in a lot of ways, because, you know, the note taker was actually Roland, and through the notes, we actually learned that Roland was the one that taught Tina Bunkers and Badasses, because she went through a lot of stuff with her parents going in the Iridium testing and all that. So it was like a coping mechanism for Tina, and it was pretty sad when Roland said they'll finish a game when he comes back with the Crimson Raiders, but Roland never came back to finish her game of Bunkers and Badasses. Really great writing, and if you're wondering, Term, where are you getting this from? They don't really tell you that in the story. It's little tiny scrolls you pick up with narration, so you might have not even known that occurred in the Borderlands series.
Look at this place. You've been busy, Tina. This cave is almost cozy.
Oh, this is nothing. I got plans, baby. Gonna be bombs and hot babes everywhere.
Is this a tea set? Mind if I sit down?
No. Do not sit there. It's, that seat is reserved.
Right. Look, Tina, I came by to say I'm sorry. Hope I didn't ruin Bunkers and Badasses for you.
Oh, that? I already forgot about that. Yeah. Why? Do you want to play?
You know,
And you can find this audio log, like, if I remember correctly, in Borderlands 2, where you first meet Tiny Tina, actually, and stuff. And it's pretty sad, I will say, because it goes to show, like, he promised this, but he dies in 2. And then when you start playing the DLC, the Dungeons and Dragons, you get to see her, like, having a hard time accepting that. And so it's really, like, it was so good. The story, how they written that was really, really nice.
I can't right now. Being the leader of an army is more work than I thought. But once things are better, yeah, come on, we'll play.
But I do think it was a great way to show off Tina's grief, kind of like Assault on Dragon Keep did, and a little bit more backstory in the franchise. Nothing wrong with that. And I didn't mind the story writing in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. It was good, but it could have been better. We look at the Dragon Lord with ill intent because he's supposed to be the big bad guy, but I think we forget the Dragon Lord isn't an actual person, you know? But all the storytelling through the scrolls could have been conveyed in such a better way to where the story in Wonderlands was way more memorable and way more heartfelt, not just, you know, reading notes and pieces of paper.
I kind of agree with that because when you play through Wonderlands, they try to make you feel like the dragon guy was really, yeah, like you said, the villain. But the whole entire time, like, you're learning about him and you're starting to realize, like, really, he deep down, he's not really that bad of a guy. He is more of how do I say it? He was probably kind of like Tiny Tina's memories of how she had for Roland. I think for some on the line, it's been a hot minute of me playing it, but he just felt some type of way about a certain situation, and so because of it, he was like feeling like that, and that kind of made him the villain, but not really. So yeah, I agree with what he's saying.
But the same could also go for New Tales. Talking about the New Tales story, it felt like so much filler that was so unnecessary that I couldn't give two lessons of a shit about, with half-witted jokes that sounded like we were on a laugh reel and whoever directed the writing had a, oh my god, that's funny button. Let's make a fart joke. Let's make a poop joke. I shit you not, no pun intended there. The last fight scene where everything's supposed to be tense and like important, Octavio was dancing to the hold music with his Echo Watch. His friends are in jeopardy, and
Bro, I saw this on Twitter. I knew so many people in the comments was losing their shit over this. It was so messed up. But yeah.
he's just dancing there. I don't know, man. Is it because dancing in important situation is funny? Did you think everyone playing was like, oh my god, he's dancing? That's so hilarious during this situation? No, it made it so cringe. I don't throw that word around very much, but it was just cringe. And the Borderlands series maybe has some cringe moments objectively, but usually when Borderlands does the funny, they do the funny right. But New Tales feels like somebody watched the first Borderlands trailer from 2008 and they're like, oh my god, this game's about poop joke. Let's make whole game poop joke, and it kind of just killed it for me. But I will say New Tales did have some interesting things. They rehired Fiona's voice actor for like 30 seconds at the end. Yeah. Fiona is in New Tales from the Borderlands, but only in the last 30 seconds, and she steals something from Marcus and just kind of dips.
Destroying a doomsday weapon, freeing a cosmic demigod, and toppling a major corporation? Not bad for three nobodies. And a robot. After that, Promethea returned to business as usual. Corporate squabbles, casual murders, holidays with the family.
So, any idea where the shard is heading?
Not a clue. No one's made any sense of its trail.
It's funny. This Anu and Octavio, two siblings who hadn't spoken in years, but ultimately risked their lives for each other. Two halves of a whole.
That resonates with you?
Oh yeah, that's the key to this whole thing, isn't it?
Wait, what are you saying?
I'm saying no one's looked at the bigger picture.
It's headed into the Gladius Nebula. Great find, Fiona. And she's gone. And she took my wallet? Con artists.
That looked like an awesome poster, 100%. Ah, dude. But that's kind of stupid how they only put Fiona in there for like a few seconds of the ending. And if anyone knows, if you don't know who Fiona is, she's from Telltale's Borderlands. So yeah. So if unless you played it, you'll understand. But if you don't, then you will never know this character. So yeah.
I feel the most important aspects of this game were Reese. You can tell they tried to do Reese so perfectly, and they did do him well. They did Reese very well. But why did you not put that effort into all the other characters in the game and make them likable? If you know Reese was so successful in pulling the audience, why would you work so hard to maintain his character development and then just completely ignore everybody else's character development for the sake of, let's make this game laughable? It just throws me off. Fiona comes in at the last second, and I really, really wish they didn't bait us for the next game with her being there. Why was the next New Tales game not about Fiona and Reese again? Or like what happened? Or like why wasn't Fiona as her character introduced to Reese or even Sasha at that point towards, you know, in the game? I don't understand. But they put cosmetics, so that's where the priorities are, apparently. But I don't know, coming from the first Tales from the Borderlands, you would think it would continue, not kind of be another bridging gap to another. Like, what are you going to even name the next Tales game that would introduce all these characters?
So basically, yeah, that's hinting at like the next possibility of Borderlands game. I don't know, man. I just hope they make it good, I would say, and playable. But how they made all the other ones, I don't know, man. Like it's kind of hard. Just wishful thinking at this point. I'm not gonna lie, dude.
There's new Tales from the Borderlands 2. But now let's look into gameplay, and I think the pre-sequel is when gameplay side of things started to just take a downward spiral for the Borderlands series. If you look at the pre-sequel, it didn't have a lot of endgame contents. It didn't have good DLCs that lived up to everyone's expectations, and a lot of other minor and major inconveniences I could list here for hours and hours, but if you're a Borderlands fan, you know what I'm talking about. I will give credit to the pre-sequel with the Oz kits and how they implemented that system, and same goes for Wonderlands when it comes to how they implemented spells and, you know...
I give you that, but this is where I kind of disagree, though. I feel as though some of the DLCs are really there just to answer a lot of different things that happen, but I can also acknowledge that yes, still could have been better. Like I was kind of wondering, like what happened to all the claptraps? Like what caused them to not work anymore? And pre-sequel really showed that. So that's what I really cared for because I'm just a big claptrap fan. So, but other than that, yeah.
all the new action skills. But the fundamentally broken thing about the pre-sequel is just the lack of, and that's really the main thing. I do love the DLC characters that were introduced, and I have no idea why Borderlands 3 did not follow suit. I think that was a mistake for Borderlands 3. And you would think they would learn from the pre-sequel, like what not to do, and like give us some more replayable end game. And you know, Borderlands 3 kind of did that. They made a lot of features so much easier for your general player base to redo fun content without making an entirely new character. So kudos to Borderlands 3 for that. And then you kind of just scrap everything from Borderlands, the pre-sequel, and Borderlands 3 that you just learned, and you kind of just ignore it for Wonderlands because Wonderlands never really had that implementation of variety, which all the other Borderlands games did very well. I do get that Wonderlands did implement more DLC characters, but it just didn't feel right with the one skill trees. It did feel kind of lazy, and we just got a pearlescent, so... You know, that's pretty good for vanilla Borderlands. Anyway, and it's been said 100 times. I've said it in a bunch of other videos. I don't want to go over it again. And now we're stuck in this limbo cycle of could have been. Wonderlands could have had a better endgame. New Tales from the Borderlands could have had more developed characters and better plots. Borderlands 3 could have had better co-op. You know, it's every game. We're going to live in this coulda, woulda, shoulda. What could have happened is we could have delayed these games for a year or so. We could have had closed beta testers. We could have had better community feedback. We could have had people listen, but, you know, we didn't. I think that's my main talking point here is I feel like we're losing touch with the community. We're losing touch with creators, especially people on the content creator team where, you know, as a person not a part of that circle of the creator team, I always assume that, you know, the devs would, you know, take the content creator team's feedback, build up upon it, and use them as the hidden connection between the general audience, the general public, and get to the devs and get very important things into their ears. But it seems like that's not how it works. It's
because a lot of content creators just love to say, oh, you know, the game is awesome. There's nothing wrong with it. And like, don't want to address any negative parts about it. Because I get it. They want to make money, and I get it that that's how they pay their bills. And I also get it that, you know, they want to keep getting something out of it. But at the same time, like, bro, you are a content creator. You have so much power over not just your own content, but also your audience. What you put out there can also influence a lot of different things. And so I just wish game creators would also listen to a lot of content creators because technically they are the people who stand for us, for the audience, or people who are like me, or who's just not a content creator in general. And so we are the people that stand for stand for what's we want in the game, what we want to change, how we feel about it, etc., etc., etc. Like things could be implemented and changed and fixed in so many different ways if some content creators, whether they're big or small, would come together and talk about the different issues or just talk about the bad, explain it, be and like give critique and be honest about it. Because I really just don't understand. I really don't. I really don't. We get the same repeat over and over and over, but nothing really fixes, and then we're always complaining about the same problem over and over. But you got the same content creators that like regurgitate how the game is fine, and then don't do anything else, and we're stuck here. Like even when people sit down, write so much in Reddit or different forums or give their good feedback on it, it's like even then they still don't want to listen. So I'm just lost. I'm just really lost. I'm not gonna lie. I just wish that I don't know, maybe the game devs would listen to content creators more and also just the people in general. But especially I wish content creators will also be more honest about certain things, how they feel about their game and stuff. Because that's how you could get it fixed. Your audience will back you up. It's
Seems like the content creation team is more of a promotion team and doesn't have too much say so in the game. And generally that's how it is with a lot of companies. But if you look at the most successful companies and the most successful gaming franchises out there that have this kind of creator team, they listen. They listen to their creator team because they know that game best. If you dedicate yourself so much to a game, you have the whole stamp of I'm a creator for this company because I love this game so much. Why does that company not want to listen to the people that dedicated all that time, all that effort, and basically their whole content creation around that one game? I will fail to understand that. If you look at something like New World, how they're recovering, I do know it's an MMO and it's hard to compare an MMO with a looter shooter. They have New World creators. They have New World people in the community that talk to each other. They know what the players want because those creators let the devs know. They let them know and they let the forums know. And they could see through the vast majority of what people are doing what they want. And another big thing, a lot of the New World or even Warframe devs, they actually play their own game. So it's really easy for them to understand what we go through as a player. If you tell the devs, Eidolon hunts and Warframe lack endgame, and they're not as challenging as I'd like them to be, they understand that because they play their game. I feel like there is none of that with board.
I agree. A lot of game creators feel as though they just don't play their game in general. Like, or better yet, I get it. They're sitting there making this game for a really long time. They don't want to play it. It's annoying because they've been working on it. It becomes a job, not something you enjoy anymore. Play other genres. No, play the same genre, but just play a different game. For example, Final Fantasy XIV, in my opinion, is one of the best curated MMO RPGs, even though I don't play it a whole lot. But the reason why I say it is because of the game devs. Yoshi P is one of the best people, in my opinion, that shows he cares for his game, but also likes to improve it and make it better. At the end of the day, will his game ever be perfect? No, just will never be. But the difference is he cares. He tries out different games. He plays his own game. He understands how certain things work, and then he implements it. And if the creators or even people that play his game gives him feedback, he'll probably listen to it. It's That's how games devs should be. It should be more like that. If you just fundamentally want to get a better ideal, or maybe you don't know what could you implement in your own game, play a different game that's your same genre. If you know you make a lot of loot and shooters, play another loot and shooter game. See how they do it. And if you like some of the mechanics that they have in their game, grab it, put it in. Like, bro, because at this point, there's so many game creators out there. There's so many different games out now. There's really no point of ever saying, like, oh, you can't steal from somebody. Because technically, you're always grabbing from something. You're always taking an idea from another game, putting it in. So just try it out. It's not that hard. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can just make the wheel better, bro. Like, I just don't understand. I really don't understand about that. Because so many games could be better if they just fundamentally either listen to creators, listen to people who give good criticism, play a different game of the genre, and that's it. But here we are.
Borderlands, and they could greatly benefit from the fact that if they play their own game, it feels like, oh, there's an issue, we kind of fixed it. here's a skeleton key code.
Facts.
You know, oh, there's this little bit of an issue. Oh, we fixed it. Here's half off SDUs for a week. Or Chambers is dropping more crystals. You're covering up these major wounds with band-aids, and it's so much more apparent now than ever. You got to play the game that you make, or you will not understand who you're making the game for. I think that's a pretty nice quote to go off of from how Borderlands has been so poorly received in the past few years. And I'm not referring to Borderlands 3. Borderlands 3 is good. I'm talking about New Tales, Wonderlands, etc. But Term, you are pretty...
I don't know. I think Borderlands 3 could be a lot better in my opinion. It's okay, but definitely a lot could be a lot better.
Good at pointing out all these negatives. And how about positives? How about ways to fix it? Well, in my opinion, in order for this series to even be fixed or thought about being fixed, has to come down to the devs. Because if the content creation team can't get in their ears, I know they have a few times based on some changes. If they can't get in their ears, if the general public can't get in their ears, who's going to, right? It's kind of just talking to a brick wall at some point where you put your time and effort into it and you don't know what to do anymore. So if I were to magically own Gearbox for 24 hours and like every change I said went through permanently, I would personally make Borderlands an online service game. And I know a lot of you might disagree with me with that because you love playing offline and co-op and all that, but gaming has evolved. I do understand that offline is great, but I would personally get all of the save files off of the player's end and make it online. So when someone shows their farmed gear, shows all these cool stuff, they're not modding it in, they're not save editing the whole thing into their build. It's more interactive. It's more unique. I would have crossplay on launch with every platform. I would make the search list menus just like we did in Borderlands 2, to where it showed every player that's online based on your story mission, based on your level, based on your...
I'm gonna be real. Borderlands 2 had like one of the best ways to play with people. Like, it's just fundamentally the fact that you was able to join people at certain quests that you had, what level you are. It was a new game, True Vault Hunter. Like, bro, you just can't beat that. You really can't. They had the best co-op to play with people into.
Your playthrough, that's how I would personally fix that. And I think when it came to classes, I would always have 4 classes on launch, release 2 DLC classes, but you never know. I've heard some talks of a Borderlands MMO, and after posting New World and playing New World for a while, and I know how MMOs function, I do think Borderlands would benefit in a few ways from some of the MMO formulas, not the repetitive endgame, not things like that where you have to grind the same thing 200 times for a skin. I do think Borderlands should have a MMO style formula in some aspects, but Borderlands does thrive off of their variety and how well they do it, so I think they need to build upon that strength a little bit more, because they've always done variety content in a great way. It's just the amounts of content within that variety that's been the issue, and once they fundamentally fix that, I think the series is off for greater things, online only, bring the saves online and not in the player's hands, allowing players to modify the game still, maybe like...
I think mods are a good thing for Borderlands, I'm not gonna lie, but I think they should do something where it's separate. I would just say, in my opinion, like, some of the mods that people make for Borderlands 2 is just crazy. They're fun, they're enjoyable. Even for a person who came from console, I would love to play some of the mods that people did back then. It's just that I never had a PC, but definitely they could make something for that. They don't have to even take that away, because it again brings in money, that brings in revenue for their fame and stuff. So
Fallout 4 have a mods tab universally on Borderlands to where you could run community-built and community-driven mods by the click of a button, regardless if you're on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, you know? Being able to do that and have people upload it. We don't lose the modding capabilities by moving saves online. We can still mod the game just fine as long as Gearbox allows it. I would also make it to where if you are playing Borderlands and you are trying to farm something, instead of having a whole route, I think there should be a rally checkpoint system. And what do you mean by this term? Well, you know how in Wonderlands, every time you emote, your little battle flag pops up for a few seconds? I would allow a emote that places a rally flag, maybe Claptrap talks to you about it, or it's the new you station, or a new you rally point, or something, to where you can go anywhere in the Borderlands map, place down this rally flag, and when you hold E on the rally flag, maybe the whole group has to do it, and you all sit by the flag, you go to a black screen, and then the screen comes back, and you could group farm with each other. Can you imagine that concept where someone in the group's like, all right, let's flag down. Let's flag right here. Everyone holds E on the flag, holds X on the flag, and then the whole area is refreshed. The boss respawns.
That would be so good, because that's one of the most annoyingest things about Borderlands. If you have never experienced this before, think about it like this. Okay, whenever you have to farm for a weapon or gear or anything, case may be, for your character, you will have to basically save and quit, go out to the home screen of the game, then log back in, sit in a loading screen. So you have to wait on a loading screen to leave. Then you have to wait for another loading screen after you go back in. And that's the annoying part, because simply if they implement something like this that he said, then you can always just have your group of buddies, you have a flag, you hold whatever button you do, and then it just resets it for you. And that right there is a lot better. It's a lot quicker, and you don't have to deal with like the long loading screens. So yeah, I like easy. They need to make something better with that, especially with farming and stuff. And that's with every loot and shooter game. And to be honest, I think there should be a better way for us to refarm for something instead of just doing it like that. I think, what was the game? Outriders is a good example, because what you'll have to do is you'll have to leave and then come back with that. What was it? If let's say you fought a boss and you left from that area, if you easily just leave from it then come back in, you can easily just have it reset right there. And so those are like better, I would say. But it just sucks in Borderlands case. You have to like exit all the way back out just to farm stuff. So yeah.
The activity respawns, and I do get people are gonna be like, oh well, that's a good way to exploit and move out the map. Not really, not really. If you allow the player to do this, they have to go to the point in specific to even do this. And if you're worried about like an armory style of content to where the chest room, you could just put the flag in the chest room, make a bounds to where if you have Maliwan style takedown content and you have runs like that, just make it so the flag can't be placed during the run. Make it so if you want the player to farm takedowns, they have to do it the normal way. They can't just put a flag at the end of it and cheese it. I'm talking about like if you're trying to farm the Infinity in Borderlands 2, or you're trying to farm something else from another location from a side mission, that rally flag is there to help you out. But those are just my personal fixes to what I would do with the Borderlands series and why it's gone downhill, not just from the game itself, but the story feels lacked, the gameplay feels half driven, like the passion for the entire series is kind of diminishing, and it's sad, man. I mean, I made my channel for Borderlands itself, and seeing how drastic the change is and how bad things are now makes me sad. Coming from Borderlands 2 and posting Borderlands 3 when it first came out, I feel like the hype was really there and the passion for Borderlands was there. I like seeing when Randy posted something about a golden key, or K6 dropped a new video. Small things, right? I know I mentioned how devs don't communicate earlier, and I really hope maybe a dev or two stumbles on this video one day and they're chilling with their cup of coffee and they're like, you know what, this itztermx guy, maybe we should listen to a few things. Maybe I'm not 100% right. Maybe the things I talk about are impossible to implement. I'm not a game dev. I'm just a guy that loves the Borderlands series, wants to see it succeed, and I miss it. I miss the feeling of enjoying a Borderlands game, and I think that's why so many people go back to Borderlands 2. It reminds us of those times where Borderlands was fun and adventurous and humorous and well written, that now when we look at the new games, we're like, damn, I really miss Borderlands 2. Now this video is a little bit long-winded. I do apologize for that. There's some things I wanted to say, and I don't want to make 4 videos with the same title for the sake of views, so if you've made it all the way through, I do appreciate that. I'm going to try to make Borderlands content that isn't me talking. It's kind of rough when I'm not a big fan of playthrough videos, and any other form of content's pretty difficult at the current state in the series. But I want this to get out there. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like on it. As you know, spread my videos more out to the Borderlands community. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss out on another video from me. But everybody stay safe. Hope you have a terrific...
Yeah, he spoke good facts about this, in all honesty. It's just Borderlands could be one of the best looting shooters. And even to this day, there's no, in my opinion, for right now, there's no better loot and shooter game out there that can perform like Borderlands, besides like the stand on toe of the loot and shooter genre is maybe Destiny and maybe Warframe. But they have their own genre. Destiny is still trying to figure out whether or not it is a loot and shooter or MMO. But to this point, I'm just gonna say it is a loot and shooter. And then finally, Warframe. Warframe is kind of a hit and miss. That's a whole different like can of worms to open up with. But I would say even then, like that's all the loot and shooter games that's really big. It's really the loot and shooter genre just really small. I wish there was more of games like this, but I see why. It's really difficult to pull off a loot and shooter game that's gonna be really good. Because just the whole like farming for something over and over and over can get really tedious. And now we're in this stage, or we're at this time where there's so many different games out. And there's so many different ways to play different games, and so many different ways to experience it that the way how Borderlands have did their farming needs a new rework. It needs a better tweak to it than just, especially how they did in Tiny Tina Wonderlands. That was just really god awful. They took away the aspects of farming from like different bosses or enemies in the game. Instead, I'm like a little sick, but they they locked behind like a little dungeon that you had to do over and over and over. And they even put in like OP levels on that, and you had to only do your OPs from that. And then they skyrocketed and increased it. Like that was gonna be fun after you doing it for like the 20th time. Like it's just not fun anymore on that. And that's why like everyone likes to go back to two. Two was fundamentally the best game. It was really their best one that they could ever make. It still had a lot of problems, but generally the DLCs was really nice. The character story was awesome. The characters that you get to play, the classes was phenomenal. It was the best. Even before the release Borderlands 3, they gave it another DLC right before the game came out, so you get to experience something even more. That brought back so many players, and I bet you to this day people are still playing it. So it's just it sucks. It really does. It really does suck how their games are continuing going. And I'm not saying Borderlands 3 or Wonderlands is just god awful, but to a certain degree, it just doesn't have that same light or cannot stand up just as much as 2 or other looting shooters. So I think I ranted enough on this. But yeah, I did agree with a lot of Treymax views on this, and I liked his content. The fact that he's able to say his opinion about it, and critique the game and talk about it is one thing I always enjoy from any content creator. And I think more content creators who do this actually should be looked at and should be cared for a lot more. So, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. And also, I got a new camera. That's why I look so much better now. But without further ado, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Got something else going on. I'm going to be posting something later on. And so with that being said, I will catch you guys on the flip side. Goodbye.